Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, attendees and participants, and welcome to the January 10th, 2023 meeting of the City of Tampa Variance Review Board. From my left, the members of the board are
Una Johnson.
Share Powers.
Sam Deckard.
Brett Feldman,
Anna Walrath.
Aaron Murphy.
also in attendance this evening from legal, we have Susan Johnson-Felez. From Development Coordination, we have Jane Madu and Mary Tavares. From Natural Resources, do we have Natural Resources here today? Oh, hey, Stephen Eister. And Jonathan Scott from Transportation? No Jonathan Scott this evening. All right. There are some procedural rules we need to follow this evening. When your case is called, when your case number and petitioner name is called, please approach the podium. When you approach the podium, please state your name, your address, and confirm if you have been sworn in. I'll say that again because a lot of people forget the last one, so please, when your name is called, please approach the podium, state your name, your address, and confirm that you have been sworn. The petitioner and or their agent will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. All other persons or participants wishing to speak will have 3 minutes, and then the petitioner will have an additional 5 minutes for rebuttal if needed. The time periods as stated will be kept by the board. Any information such as pictures or plans that have not been previously submitted as part of your petition and that you intend to present at this hearing for consideration and in support of your petition must be individually presented and accepted by the board. After acceptance by the board, you must submit the item to staff for it to be entered and made part of the permanent record. The board bases its decision on competent and substantial evidence which is presented and which meets the criteria required by the city's code of ordinances. Please be sure to clearly state your hardship criteria during your presentation. A majority of the board is needed to approve your variance. The variance granted by the board will be only for what is shown on the site plan and will be in compliance with any terms and conditions as stated in the approval by the board. All other city codes will need to be met. If the case is approved, your variance will expire 2 years from the date of the decision. If the case is continued, it will be continued to either the next month's VRB board agenda or the next available position on an upcoming VRB board agenda. If the case is denied, you may wish to have the Variance Review Board's decision appealed by the City Council. You must file a petition for review of the board's decision within 14 days of the written decision. You will not be able to pull any permits until after the 14-day review period has passed. Your cooperation in ensuring that this meeting is run smoothly is greatly appreciated. At this time, can I have a motion from one of our board members to approve the meeting minutes from the December VRB board meeting?
So moved.
I move that we approve the
Ms. Walrath got it, and I'll take yours as the second. So all those in favor of approval of the minutes say aye. Any opposed? No. Minutes have passed. At this time, I will ask legal staff to confirm whether there are any ex parte communications or conflicts with tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I would now ask any board member if they have had any ex parte communications with respect to any item on this evening's agenda.
I would like to disclose that I have a conflict of interest with case BRB 22-92, and I will recuse myself and submit the little memo to you.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members have any conflicts of interest that they are aware of with respect to any items on the agenda this evening, other than Ms. Deckard? All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda that staff wishes to address at this time? Nope. All right. At this time, I would ask staff to conduct a swear-in, and for the members of our audience, if you plan to speak, if you might speak, if there's a slight chance that you're going to talk this evening, please stand and be sworn so that we don't have to do it again when you decide it's time to speak.
Good evening. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth?
All right. Thank you so much. Ms. Madu, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Good evening, board and everyone here present. The first case is VRB 2268. I do not see the applicant.
Okay. Is the applicant here for VRB 2268? No. Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. So at last month's VRB meeting, the applicant also did not appear
That's correct.
when his item was on the agenda. So pursuant to Rule 7.1 of the VRB's Rules of Procedures, the applicant is required to appear in support of their application. If the applicant fails to appear, the board may allow the application to be carried over to the next available agenda, which the board did in December to this agenda. And then failure to appear at the second hearing shall be automatic grounds for denial of the application. That's under Rule 7.1.
Okay. Would council recommend, I assume they would, but let's check, that we go ahead and vote on that?
I would recommend a motion to, yes.
Would council recommend that we push it to the end of the agenda or do it now?
It is board's pleasure.
Board, what is your pleasure as to whether we just deny it now or wait until the end and see if somebody shows up?
We did that last time. We pushed it to the end of the agenda, no one
Yeah?
showed up, and apparently you haven't heard from them either, so.
Well, it starts at 5:30.
Okay. I think the chances that someone appears is probably slim. So if that's the case, do I have a motion to address 2268 and deny per failure to appear twice?
So moved.
Well, let's do it with the information.
Oh, okay.
You want to try that?
No.
All right. Ms. Decker, you're up.
Please.
I move that variance request for case VRB 22-68 for property located at 427 Erie Avenue for a request to remove a grand tree be denied due to the failure of the petitioner to appear at two public
Consecutive.
hearings.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to deny for failure to consecutively appear. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 2268 is denied due to applicant's failure to appear.
All right. The next case before the board is VRB 2297. This is addressed at 206 South Moody Avenue. The applicant is David Smith, and the property owners are Salma and David Smith. This is zoned RM24. Their variance request is to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 10.1 feet, and the south side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.5 feet, and the north side yard setback from 7 feet to 1.75 feet for an accessory structure. The code section in reference is section 27-291B, accessory structures with a gross floor area larger than 15% of the minimum required lot size must meet principal structure setbacks as referenced in section 27-156, table 4-2. This is an aerial showing the subject property. There in the orange dotted lines. It's an interior lot that is in the Central Tampa Planning District. This is a site plan that the applicant has provided showing the existing structure on the property and then the proposed, the existing garage and the existing family residences. This is what is being proposed. The existing garage will be converted to have units that will be added to the top of the existing structure. They had applied for a variance in 2021, and they were granted a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 to 14.1, reduce the side yard setback from 7 to 3.5, and the north side yard setback from 7 to 1.5 for additional space for an accessory structure. That was approved on August 10th, 2001 at the VRB hearing. These are the elevations of the existing structure, the garage, as it currently exists, and the elevations. This is what is being proposed by the applicant. maintaining the garage on the first level and having a unit on the upper stories. And they have provided elevation showing what they're proposing. This was reviewed by right-of-way. Right-of-way review was not required. Natural Resources reviewed and found it consistent with conditions that they meet. At the time of construction, any changes and requests can be made to ensure that all applicable sections of Chapter 27 of the City of Tampa's Code and City of Tampa Tree and Landscape Technical Manual are met. Transportation found them consistent, and wastewater found them consistent as well, with no impact to any wastewater facilities. We received no letters of objection or support for this application, and these are pictures showing the existing structure with view from the alley. In the determination of the variance request before you, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for the approval or denial of a variance request. If you have any questions, I will be available.
Okay. Was there more you need to address, Ms. Madhu?
I would mention to the board that this was continued due to a tie vote on the November 8th VRB hearing. And that will be my addition.
Okay, is the applicant or the applicant's agent here for 2297? Come on up. All right, have you been sworn?
I have not been sworn.
Of course not. You missed it by just a few minutes. If there's anyone else who needs to be sworn, let's go ahead and do it again. If you might speak, if there's a chance you're going to talk and you haven't been sworn, let's go ahead and do it now.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Okay. You have, if you would please state your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn. Then you'll have 10 minutes to present to us any additional evidence. Might be a valuable service to us if you just give us a quick refresher about what you did the last time. And hopefully we can get it resolved this time.
Thanks so much. David Smith, 206 South Moody Avenue, Tampa, Florida,
And you have been sworn.
and I've been sworn in.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to hear me again. So I am looking to build additional living space above an existing garage in our backyard. The description of the variance is to reduce the rear setback from 20 feet to 10.1 feet and reduce the side yard south setback from 7 to 3.5 and reduce the side yard setback from 7 to 1.75 for additional living space and accessory structure. This request is following up an approved variance of VRB 21-39, which had previously requested rear setback from 20 to 14.1 feet and reduced the side yard setback from 7 to 3.5 and reduced the side yard setback from 7 to 1.75 for additional living space. However, when requesting this variance, I used a survey from 2015, which showed 14.5 feet between the property line and the beginning of the garage. The City of Tampa Permitting Department informed me that this was the wrong property line and asked me to request a modification to the variance, requesting a 10.1 rear setback. I was told by the city that I would need to request an entirely new variance, which is why I'm here today. The hardships are unique to this property due to the accessory building service door being located in the rear of the structure, making it impractical to put the staircase on the rear versus the side, thus making the only practical place to put the stairway on the side of the property. And furthermore, requiring a side setback variance. The existing accessory structure is already in place. Undue hardship would result from having to demolish the accessory structure completely in order to move it back from 10.1 feet to a 20-foot rear setback. The hardship is not a result of the actions of the applicant and is due to the way the original plat of the area was designed. The layout and design of the property and dimensions of the land is not a self-created hardship. When the variance is granted, no one person's health, safety, or welfare will be affected negatively, and the variance is in harmony with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan and is matching similar numerous houses on the same street in the area. Those addresses include 209 South Moody Avenue, 208 South Moody Avenue, 204 South Albany Avenue, 209 South Albany Avenue, 201 South Fremont Avenue, 203 South Fremont Avenue, and 212 Westland Park, to name a few. Allowing the variance will result in substantial justice considering the benefits of the immediate area, and there's ample parking at both units. There's four parking spots in the front of the driveway. There's a 2-car garage plus 2 spots on the 14.5 foot rear driveway. So 8 spots on unit 1 and unit 2. And just to recap here, this is the variance 2139. I don't know if you're able to show that up there.
We need to switch that to our,
How do I do that? Dot cam, there we go.
good job.
All right, so this is 2139 that was approved, and there's the 14.1 that I had based off this survey, but this is actually showing the total length of the concrete driveway. And instead, I should have been requesting it based off this survey, which is actually showing the property line there, and the limiting factor in the back is 10.1, even though you can see it fans out there. As an example, I'm also showing approved variance 18.80 at 208 South Moody Avenue. And this one was approved from 7 feet to 0 on the side and 20 feet to 10. And if you're able to show the photo that you showed earlier of the existing structure. Oh. What, VGA laptop? Or?
I'll do it.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, the one on the left there. So you can see there in the background on the left, 208 South Moody, and you can see that staircase. And there was a question from the board back in November as to whether or not that was actually another unit. And so you can see the staircase here and the wall going all the way through. So that's the only entrance to that one. I've also brought 209 South Moody, and that is pretty much exactly a similar layout, except for this is a completely detached unit in the back. So this is what we currently have. It's just a 2-car garage like you saw in the picture. And this would be what we're proposing. As you can see, it has, other than the staircases on the side, it has the same overall footprint. Now, there were also some questions back in November. Could I get the PowerPoint? Thank you so much. in regards to the safety of, on the side setback. So I just wanted to kind of give you a bird's eye view of both two different options for how fire rescue would approach a fire at the back unit. So, you know, obviously there's the downfall of having a long, narrow unit is, you know, you're limited on space on the sides. The pro of this concept is you have South Moody over there on the left, and then you also have the alleyway, which goes directly to the garage on the back side. So this is the front of the main structure, and it's important to notice that we're not going to be altering the sides of the main structure. So there's not going to be anything to impede fire from entering from the front there, going through the side. And you can see the arrows on the north and the south side of this. And it was brought up that fire would need at least 5 feet in order to put up a ladder. So you can see, I don't know if it, okay, so there and there, from the survey, this area is 9.7 feet, and this is a larger area that didn't quite say on the survey what the actual dimensions were, but it's a larger area. And so if fire rescue were to approach from the front and go to the back unit, this is what they would be looking at, and you can see there's 4 windows there from which they could enter if the staircase was somehow impeded. The other option would just be to pull up alongside the alleyway. And so that's what they would be pulling up. That's the existing structure, and so it would be built up straight up from there. As you can see, there's 10.1 feet before the property line, but there's actually a 14.5 foot concrete slab before they're getting into the actual alleyway. And so this is what they would be approaching with the proposed work done. And as you can see there, again, if the staircases were somehow impeded and it was blocked or unsafe for them to go up one of those entrances, they could go through the windows. Closing points, 2 houses on the same street have both had approved variances. The one I have listed here was 18-80, and it was approved for the following: rear setback reduced from 20 to 10. Is that 10 minutes?
Yeah, your time's up. Go ahead.
Okay, just wrapping up here, yep. 20 to 10 and 7 to 0. The subject property was approved 2139 with the following: rear setback reduced from 20 to 14.1. So that's the number, that's the reason why we're here today. We're trying to get that down to 10.1, just based off of the technicality. And then the side setback reduced from 7 to 3.5 and 1.5. And like I said, the footprint remains the same, and it's in line with multiple homes on the same street and the neighborhood. And main house still is going to meet all side setback requirements, and front and rear for that fact. And ample access through the windows is provided in the event that the stairs are inaccessible.
All right, well, thank you for that very comprehensive presentation. All right, is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak about this application this evening? Oh, hi, come on up. State your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn, then you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Yeah, I confirm I swore with him when he swore. My name is Vutapun Sutaratana, the owner at 208 South Moody Avenue, Unit 2. So it's, yeah, I personally, I don't see any issues with allowing them to build up because, number one, it doesn't impede anything on our property, like it doesn't change our view or anything. So from our standpoint, it would just be structure going up a little higher beside of us. So from that perspective, I don't see any issues with that. And, you know, and personally, I think, as you know, for I think overall, he's increasing the property values and, building on his own property. So he's not doing anything to our property or anything. So from my perspective, we have no issues with him, with this proposal. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak about this petition? Seeing none, are there any questions from the board for staff or for the petitioner or anyone in the audience who spoke?
I have a couple questions. I just want to reiterate it again for the record. You've come before us before, and this prior variance granted the exact same side setbacks that you're asking for here. You're just asking for a reduced rear yard setback. So the side setbacks already been approved by this board. So from my perspective, what we're really reviewing is the change in the rear yard setback.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And just again, to be clear, the rear yard setback is not changing from the current situation. There's currently a garage that is 10.1 feet from your property line, and you're just going up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Straight up.
Okay, that's all we got.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? You have some time for rebuttal, should you choose to use it. If there's anything else you wanted to add in response to anything that's been said, any questions that were asked, now's your chance.
No, sir. Nothing else.
Okay. Well, with that then, I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the variance request for case VRB 22-97 for property located at 206 South Moody Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction of the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 10.1 feet, a reduction of the south side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.5 feet, and a reduction of the north side yard setback from 7 feet to 1.75 feet with an encroachment for eaves and gutters, based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that this variance has previously been reviewed and approved by this board. The applicant has brought additional information addressing the health, safety, and welfare items that were raised by this board previously, including the fact that fire safety has access to the property from two different options, two different directions, and approving this variance is generally in conformity with the overall neighborhood, the design of the neighborhood.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there a need for discussion? From a discussion point, I will only add that the applicant mentioned that the service doors, as they exist on the rear of the property, prevent the stairwells from going there, and therefore stairwells on the side appear necessary.
Mr. Chairman, so that is the only encroachment that can be in that area are the stairs, correct?
As is
shown on the site
as
plan.
is shown on the site plan.
Thank
correct.
you.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? No? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Okay, your application passes 4-2. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
The next case before the board is VRB 2292, address at 526 Luzon Avenue. Property owners are Zachary and Betsy Mann. This property is zoned RS60 residential single family. The variance request before the board tonight is to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 5.5 feet to allow a pool in the front yard. Code section in reference is section 27-156, table 4-2 that has the schedule of area, height, bulk, and placement regulations for the RS60 zoning district as 25 feet in the front, 20 on the rear, and 7 feet on the sides. This is an aerial showing the subject property. It is a corner lot in the Central Tampa Planning District. It is right at the intersection of Luzon and Bosphorus Avenue, where the apex of the lot kind of is where you have that intersection. This is a site plan that the applicant has provided showing us the existing home and the proposed pool that goes here. Because this is a corner lot, it has two fronts. So it has a front on Luzon and it has a front on Bosphorus Avenue. This is a plan that the applicant has provided showing the impact to the existing tree right here, the impact of the proposed pool to the existing tree, and showing the trees that are to be taken out on this property. This is the subject tree that would be impacted by the proposed pool. This was reviewed by right-of-way, and they had found them consistent with no comments. This was reviewed by transportation. They found them consistent with no comments. Natural Resources reviewed and found them consistent with conditions with the following comment. The plan shall meet all conditions outlined within the arborist report submitted on December 30th, 2022. At the time of construction, additional natural resources changes and requests can be made to ensure that all applicable sections of Chapter 27 of the City of Tampa Code and City of Tampa Tree and Landscape Technical Manual are met. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and he included his email. The applicant did provide updated site plans, arborist report, and a response to the variance criteria, which the board has been presented with. We received no letters of objection or support for this application. And in the determination of the variance request before you, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for the approval or denial of the variance request. If you have any questions, staff is available on hand.
I have one quick question, Ms. Madhu. There's an existing pool?
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's clear enough. Let's go forward. Applicant, come on up. State your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn, and you'll have 10 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Neugebauer. I'm a land use attorney at Stearns Lever Miller in Tampa. The address is 401 East Jackson Street for the record. I do have the revised staff report in our presentation, print out copies for you, so I'm going to go ahead and pass those out.
We already have this. Although this feels thicker than the last one. Oh, letters.
So the two materials that I just passed out for you, one is a revised staff report that was actually revised today to include the revised site plan. The previous staff report had some inconsistencies since we did resubmit a few weeks ago. So I've been working with staff to try and get those issues corrected. We do have findings of consistency from all of the departments who reviewed the application. There is a revised site plan that is in there that will show that we are no longer removing a tree as part of this application, and I'll go into more details in my presentation. I'm here today representing Zachary Mann, who owns real property at 526 Luzon Avenue on Davis Island. We originally applied for this application back in July of 2022, but we have asked for a couple of continuances to work with staff and redesign the site in order to save a large 31-inch live oak on the property. As Sass went over, here is a map that shows the property. As you can see, this is a very uniquely shaped lot. This is actually really more like a triangle than a corner lot. The front of the home is facing Luzon Avenue, which is to the east, and the rear of the home is facing Bosphorus Avenue. Our request today is to put a swimming pool in the rear of the home on Bosphorus Avenue. The request is due to the unique shape of the lot and because the existing pool that is there is currently being cracked due to a large 28-inch tree that is on the neighbor's property. The roots have extended from that tree that has cracked the existing pool's foundation, and because of that, we're asking to relocate the pool. Again, this is a very unique shaped lot. This is a lot that is not seen throughout the city of Tampa, and the code actually doesn't contemplate a triangular shaped lot that really looks like this. So again, today we're here to ask for a reduction of the front yard setback along Bosphorus Avenue. Bosphorus Avenue does create a front yard under the code because it does face a street. However, that is the rear of the home, so this pool is just for to put a pool in the rear, not in a actual front yard of the house. So our request today would be to reduce the front yard setback to the rear of the home from 25 feet to 6.5 feet to allow a swimming pool in the rear of the home, an actual front yard under the code. Due to the unique shape of the property has 2 front yards under code section 2743. The applicant does have that existing pool, as I mentioned, but it's being cracked by a 28-inch laurel oak on the neighbor's property. So this request is to relocate the pool. Here's a site plan of the proposed structure. So you can see the pool that's to the right side of the site plan, where that's in its existing location, and then you can see the new location of the pool to the south side. Here are photos of the existing pool damage. As you can see, the deck is cracked along the eastern side of the pool. And in the other photo, you can see the tree root that is currently extending from the neighbor's property to my client's property that is causing the defects in the pool decking. Walking through the criteria, as you know, there are 5 criteria under the City of Tampa Code for variances. With respect to the first one of practical difficulty for the property is uniquely shaped with this triangular shaped lot, and we do have 2 front yards with 2 25-foot front yard setbacks. That is a unique hardship for this property. The property was originally platted in 1925 in its original configuration. Back then, I don't think they knew what zoning was or what variances and codes were, and so this, the unique shape of the property wasn't quite contemplated as it is today. Item 2 is the hardship is not due to the applicant. Again, the property was platted a long time ago. The home was built in 1972 and the pool was built in 1987. So the applicant did purchase the home with the existing constraints that were on it. They did not build the home in its current configuration on this unique lot. And then the last reason that this is not due to the applicant, because this lot is so uniquely shaped, it creates 2 25-foot setbacks. If this were a corner lot, it would not create 2 25-foot setbacks because one of the yards would be considered a side yard, which has a significantly reduced setback for pools of only 5 feet. With respect to item 3, whether it substantially interferes with the public health, safety, or welfare, there are 11 neighbors who have signed letters of support of the application. 3 of the neighbors are the neighbors who directly would face this pool in its proposed location. The applicant also plans to construct a fence that would block the view and a screen enclosure to further protect any adverse impact to the neighbors. Criteria 4, the harmony with the code. The applicant has redesigned the site in order to save the large 31-inch live oak in the back of the property after working with city staff and our arborists. If this site and if this yard in the rear of the home were treated as a rear yard, we would not be here for a variance today. The requirement would be for a 5-yard setback for a swimming pool, and we are providing a 6.5-foot setback. So if the rear of the home had a rear yard, we would not be here today. And then number 5, substantial justice being done. Again, the applicant didn't own the lot when it was platted and did not build the home in the existing footprint. Because of the tree root issues that it is causing for the existing pool, the applicant is requesting to relocate this. This is a reasonable reconfiguration of the property that allows for the trees to be saved and also for the applicant to relocate the pool into a safe location. Project's impacts on existing trees. I'd now like to introduce our arborist, Mr. Ricky Pederica with Dark Ross, to explain his arborist report. We brought Mr. Pederica on to the applicant team when we were intending to remove the 31-inch live oak that was in the back of the property. However, after working with Mr. Pederica, city staff, and the applicant's architect, we were able to redesign the site to save the tree, and he's here today to explain those discussions.
Good evening, board members. Ricky Pederica, 308 East 7th Avenue. I've been sworn. I'm a board-certified master arborist, registered consulting arborist, landscape architect, and certified planner. And I was asked to review the case prior to the hearing before the last continuance, to evaluate and make a recommendation on the competing issues from the zoning perspective and the tree preservation perspective. After completing my review of all the trees on the site, I made a recommendation on a site plan recommendation that still preserve the tree with the pool in the proposed yard that, or in the yard that it's currently proposed in. I made that recommendation to the client and design team, vetted it briefly with staff beforehand, and the design team came back with a solution that still preserves the tree, increases the setback to a tolerable level of encroachment, such that it's no longer, in my opinion, adversely impacting the tree with the position that it's proposed. And to mitigate the encroachment that we are proposing within the setback, we are proposing some additional tree preservation efforts on the remainder of the drip line beyond the code required 20 feet beyond the city required minimums. In addition, I prepared a pruning plan specification to accommodate a single-story pool enclosure within the drip line where the pool deck encroachment occurs, with just a minor reduction in foliar live canopy. Again, that the root invigoration that's proposed and part of my arborist report and incorporated into staff's comments is intended to address both the root loss associated with the pool at the encroachment and the small amount of canopy loss associated with providing vertical clearance for the pool enclosure. Thank you.
Again, as I mentioned before, we have 11 neighbors who have signed letters of support for the application. Here's a map that shows all of the homes that have signed a letter of support. The other members who were asked, they indicated that there was no objection. So in conclusion, Natural Resources has found the project consistent with conditions with the City of Tampa Land Development Code. Transportation staff found the application consistent with the Land Development Code, and right-of-way found the application consistent. And we respectfully request your approval of this application. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I assume that completes your application. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak about this petition this evening? Seeing none. Questions from the board for the applicant or staff? No? Well, that was going to be my question. Ms. Neubauer, you've had chosen some careful wording there. Can you explain to us what's happening with the old pool? You've said relocating, but you don't pick up a pool and move it.
Right.
How does that work?
Right, so the existing pool will be filled in. I'll have the client here, you can come up and explain what their intent is for where the existing pool is. And then obviously a new pool will be constructed in the backyard.
Okay. All right, somebody want to explain what the intent with that is? Come on up, state your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn, and just give us an understanding of what's going on there.
Betsy Mann, 526 Luzon Avenue, and I have been sworn in.
Awesome, good job.
Zachary Mann, 526 Luzon, I have been sworn.
Terrific, both of you.
So
all right, what's happening?
We're going to fill in the current pool and basically sod grass that area.
Okay. Just the area where the pool is, the pool deck is going to stay?
No, that's all
gone?
All going to sod.
Okay, cool. All right,
It's
thanks.
basically going to be our dog's yard.
Dog will be thrilled. Other questions? Mr. Eister, you're here for a reason. Let's give you an opportunity. Your opinion on all the tree issues here?
So the initial report and site plan that was submitted showed the removal of the 31-inch live oak in the rear yard, or the front yard, where they put the proposed pool. I gave them a pretty lengthy list of comments to address on the resubmittal. They were in contact with me since the initial inconsistency review until about the end of the month, where they resubmitted everything that changed my finding from inconsistent to consistent. With the updated arborist report, the information was all more consistent. It all met with what was happening on the site. They shifted the pool forward closer to the house to allow more space for the 31-inch tree. And then with Ricky's recommendation of the root invigoration and the minor canopy pruning to allow for the enclosure, because that was going to be an issue for me, because nobody wants an oak over their pool. If there's not an enclosure now, there's going to be one. So he addressed that as well. So that's when my findings went from inconsistent to consistent.
Okay, good for me. Anyone else? Any other questions? All right, you've got 5 minutes. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hold up, go ahead.
I'm not sure if this is a question for the board, but it might be for the owners. When we grant things on the site plan, or we grant a case per the site plan, but on the site plan, it doesn't show that the existing pool is going to be demolished or filled in to any extent. If we added a condition saying, what you had stated, that it was going to be filled in and replaced with, a pervious material like sod, would that be okay with you?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay.
Anything else? Seeing none, take it away, Ms. Newberry.
I don't have anything on rebuttal, but I am available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, with that, I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
Okay. Put myself into that one.
All right, Ms. Power, go ahead.
Okay. What case number is this one again?
92, 2292.
All right, okay. I move that the variance request for case VRB 2292 located at 526 Luzon Avenue, as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction of the front yard setback from 25 feet to 5.5 feet, with the following conditions: that the existing pool, as the owners have stated, be demolished or retrofitted where there is no pool and screen enclosure and concrete. It is now going to be a pervious situation such as sod. With that said variance as conditioned be granted based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record, and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in 27-80 of the City Code. Specifically that this lot is irregularly shaped in a triangular form, which actually creates 2 front yards, and having 1 yard kind of, acting as the backyard seems like, a considerable thing to do. This is their hardship that I see on the property.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Petition passes. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
The next case before the board is VRB 22108. This is addressed at 508 South Oregon Avenue. The applicant is Kristen Meggs. And this property is zoned RM24 residential multifamily. The variance request is to reduce the side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet for an addition to an existing single-family residence. The code section in reference is section 27-156C, table 4-2, that has the schedule of area, height, bulk, and placement for the RM24 zoning district as 25 feet for the front, 20 for the rear, and 7 on the sides. This is the subject property shown in the orange dotted lines. It is in the Central Tampa Planning District, and it's also in the Hyde Park National Historic District. This is a site plan showing the proposed work on the property. The area in the hatch is the proposed addition to the existing home, and here we see what that setback, the proposed setback is going to be. These are pictures of the front of the property that the applicant provided, showing that carport in front, leading towards the rear of the property. And pictures showing the area where the proposed addition is going to go. And then the rear of the property showing the tree, the ground tree in the backyard, and the existing accessory structure on the property as well. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions that they meet all City of Tampa Code and City of Tampa Tree and Landscape Technical Manual at the time of permitting. Transportation reviewed and found consistent with the following comment. Transportation has no objection to the requested variance. However, please revise the following on the site plan when you go to construction services for permitting on this project. 1, show the location of 2 paid parking spaces per City Code Section 27-283.7. And show that each parking space needs to be at least 9 feet by 18 feet, and that it can be configured side by side, 18 feet by 18 feet, or tandem, 36 feet by 9 feet. Right-of-way review was not required. We received no letters of objection or support for this variance request. In the determination of this variance request before you, the board shall consider Section 27-80 as the criteria for the approval or denial of a variance request. Staff will be available if you have any questions.
All right, is the applicant here for 22108?
Yes, sir, I am.
Oh, hi.
Hi. My name is Chris Meggs. I live at 508 South Oregon Avenue, and I have been sworn in.
Great job. All right, you have 10 minutes.
So the home was built in 1942. It's 1,450 square feet. It's quite small, not much closet space. Has 1 bathroom and then an additional laundry room with, a bathroom, toilet and everything in it. So my sister lives with me from time to time, so we have 1 small bathroom that we share. In 2016, I bought the house in 2014. In 2016, I had the garage built. And I moved it 3 times and worked with the city because of the Grand Oak back there. When we started to get the permitting, we were asked to reduce the setback from the back because they switched it from 5 feet to 10 feet. So we redid the planning and we moved it 10-foot setback for the garage. I've redone the entire house. I had to do structure work. I had to do electrical work in everywhere. So now that I've got everything done, got the garage up, you saw the conditions, did all the landscaping. I really need, additional square feet, and we're looking for 400 square feet to do a master bath, master closets, and expand a little bit on the rooms. I work out of the house. I'm an engineer, so I need a little bit more space for, you get really creative with the storage. So, let's see. I enter the garage from the alley. There are 2 parking spaces back there, and they are side by side. We'd be leaving, there isn't a carport, but I'd be leaving the space that's next to the foyer, so there'd be parking in the front, in the driveway, the very front, and right next to the house where the foyer is. And I don't have a picture of that, but it is on the pictures that I sent in. I don't want to compromise the existing structure as far as it's a Spanish Mediterranean mission-style home. And so in adding on to the house, I'll still keep the existing, theme of the home. As you saw with the garage, I kept it looking exactly like the front of the house. So I think that's pretty much all I have on that. There is a precedence that's already set, even with my own house. At the front of the house, I've got a 3-foot setback that comes off of the living room. Houses all up and down the street have 3-foot and 4-foot setbacks. A gentleman in particular, after I had built my garage, decided he was going to build a garage on his, and it was at 604 South Oregon. And he started the construction, didn't get a variance, and I told him, I said, you have to have a 10-foot setback, but he had a 5-foot setback. That garage is still, he went ahead and built it with a living space above it with the 5-foot setback. And there's houses at, that one's at 604, 602 has a 4-foot setback. The house next to me, which is a multifamily home, there's a couple of upstairs and downstairs apartments. They have a 4-foot setback up to my property line. They actually encroach onto my property line. All have setbacks that aren't the 7-foot setback, are 422, 412, 410, 408, and 406, with many more houses. Building onto this will enhance the value of the house, it will enhance the neighborhood. And one other point is, I am not part of Spanish Creek or Hyde Park yet. There's this one block where I've never been incorporated in any of the historic districts. Just now, it's going to be, incorporated into Hyde Park, but my street, it has never been part of any of the Spanish Town. And even though I do go to their meetings and I go to the Hyde Park meetings. So, thank you.
Okay, does that complete your presentation?
Yes.
All right, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak about this petition? Seeing none. Questions from the board for petitioner or staff?
So one of the things we look at when we evaluate a variance is if there's anything unique about the property. And in this case, you mentioned that you installed your detached garage and that this is sort of, or you implied that this is sort of the only location that you could put this particular
the addition.
Enhancement, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you just, maybe provide a little bit more information about that? And if I interpreted that correctly?
I can't go back because I did build the garage back there. The garage couldn't go anywhere more towards the north because of the grand oak. I mean, it's not a live oak, it's a grand oak, and it's a beautiful tree. And so that's why you can't go back, because you're going to encroach on the garage. You need to have some sort of living space. I've got the yard and the deck, so there is no place else to go. And that driveway is, in my opinion, is wasted space. It's not used for anything else. I do access the garage from the alley. It's a 2-car garage, both cars side by side with a little bit of a workshop in it. There is the driveway in the front of the house where you can park. So that area that's on the side of the house is not utilized for anything except for concrete.
Okay, yeah, and I see that. To put the same area in the back, you'd be encroaching onto that
Right,
protected
and I
tree.
just built the garage in 2016.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You're really close to, meeting the setback requirement,
Correct.
which is 7 feet, and you already have a detached garage, so why wouldn't you just meet the setback and make your expansion, across the whole house? It doesn't seem like you need a covered porte-cochere if you've got your garage in the back. Have you considered,
All the way to the front?
redesigning? Because it's all new construction, so.
Right, correct. That is a foyer that's right there, and there are French doors that step out there. I want to keep that arch that is right there because it is existing. Came with the house. It was built with the house, and so it's to me it's much more appealing to keep it like that. So I don't want to go all the way to the front of the house.
All right, have you considered looking at alternatives of
yes.
meeting the setback?
Yes.
And it didn't work for you?
No,
It wasn't big enough?
Well, I think that might tie into my question. So the existing archway goes 3 feet, goes into the, you're matching where the existing archway is, right?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what you're saying is what exists now on the home, that existing archway, goes up to 3 feet from the set, from the.
It actually goes right onto the property line. That one was already there. It's been there. It arches right to the edge of the property line. If you look in one of the pictures from the backside.
Okay, so I guess my question is, just to sort of touch on what she was saying, I understand you want to keep the existing look of the house, you want to try and match the lines of what exists. So what line are you following then to get to the 3 feet?
The 3 feet, it would be equal to the garage, because that garage has a 3-foot setback.
Okay.
When I got the permitting for that, I moved it to the 10 feet. They kept the 3 feet back to the garage. It's actually 3.5 feet.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Seeing none? All right, you have some time for rebuttal. You can address anything that we raised. You can address anything you want to share with us in addition that you just thought of, anything along those lines. You have 5 minutes.
I don't, I just, I want to keep the style of the house. I don't want to take that arch down. If I add on to the front, then I have to get rid of those doors, and it's got a unique feel. Again, it is a 1942 house with everything you see, so I just want to add a little more space so that we have a little more breathing room.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
I move that the variance request for case VRB 22-108 for property located at 508 South Oregon Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet with an encroachment for the eaves and gutters based upon applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code. Specifically, that this is an older home built in 1942 with a smaller square footage, only has 1 bathroom, which is not terribly conducive to today's standards. The neighborhood has similar setbacks around the property. It does have a rear access from an alleyway to a 2-car garage, so there is no parking issues. The location of the proposed variance is the only spot that it could go due to the large grand tree in the backyard, and it is also matching the existing side setback set by the 2-car garage.
All right, thank you, Mr. Murphy. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All right, your petition passes 5-4.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
The next case is VRB 2301. I do not believe the applicant is here.
Do we have an applicant for 2301? Seeing none. Does anyone want to make a motion? You didn't hear anything from the applicant? Ms. Madhu? Anyone? No? Anyone want to make a motion to continue 23-01 to, do we have space on the February agenda?
Yes.
To the February, what's the date of the February agenda?
It is February 14th.
Really, Valentine's Day?
We get to spend Valentine's Day together.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to continue to the February 14th VRB board hearing?
I'll make a motion.
VRB 2301, location of 8413 North Ola Avenue, to the February 14th meeting, as no one is here to present their case. At 5:30 p.m., yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, motion to continue second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, 2301 is continued to February 14th. Thank you so much. About 2304. All right, Ms. Madhu, take it away.
All right. The next case before the board is VRB 2204. This is addressed at 7102 South Shamrock Road. The property owner is Rodrigo Brandon and Allison Carson. And the applicant is Rodrigo Brandon and Allison Carson. This is zoned RS50 residential single family. The variance request presented before the board tonight is to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet, and the vehicular entrance from 10 feet to 7 feet for an existing addition to a single family residence and carport. The code section in reference is section 27-291B, accessory structures with a gross floor area larger than 15% of the minimum required lot size must meet the principal structure setbacks referenced in section 27-156, table 4-2, and section 27-156C, footnote 8, that has the entrance to a garage or carport for 2 or more vehicles being set back at a minimum of 10 feet from the property line. This is the subject property shown and highlighted in the orange dotted lines. It is a corner lot. It's an interior lot in the South Tampa Planning District. Oh, it is a corner lot. That is wrong information. It is a corner lot. It's at the intersection of South Shamrock Road and West Lawman Street. And this is a site plan that the applicant has provided showing us the proposed work where this is the garage. The existing home is right here, and the garage is in the rear with access off West Lawman Street. We have to the right elevation showing the proposed structure. This is a picture showing the existing property as it currently exists with that gate across West Lawman Street. And pictures showing the existing accessory structure on the property and off-site trees on the neighbor's property that are right next to the existing accessory structure. On the right, we have the rear view of the existing single-family residence. These are pictures that of existing trees on the site, a cluster of palms. They have laurel oak, and you have one off-site tree that is on the neighbor's property. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions. Transportation reviewed and found it consistent with conditions. Right-of-way also found them consistent as well. We received no letters of support or objection for this variance request. In the determination of the variance request before you, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for the review for the approval or denial of the variance request. Staff is available if you have any questions.
Ms. Madhu, what is the square footage that trips us over to main structure setbacks? Is it 750?
It is 750.
Okay. Name, address, sworn.
Good evening. My name is Joe Eas. Subject property address is 7102 South Shamrock Road, and I have been sworn in. Thank you for hearing our request this evening. We're here to request a rear yard setback reduction from 20 feet to 6 feet, and a corner yard setback from 10 feet to 7 feet to the structural edge of the vehicle entrance to a garage. The primary hardship and practical difficulties that we're experiencing on this site are the existing trees bounding the subject property. These are located to the south portion of the property, and there are 3 trees. There are 2 28-inch diameter oaks and a 22-inch pecan tree. The trees require both 15 and 10-foot tree protection zones, 15 for the oaks and 10 for the pecan. And the location of the trees, as well as the existing palms that were shown in the picture, are restricting the location that we can place the accessory garage structure in the rear yard. By reducing the setbacks from 10 to 7 on the corner, the building foundations and the building themselves are moved out of the tree protection zones, and it keeps the face of the structure on West Lowman Street in line with the primary structures and consistent with other houses in the neighborhood. There are 2 additional properties within a block each, 7,002 South Shamrock Road and 7102 South Sparkman Street, that have similar conditions, making this consistent with the neighborhood feel. Additionally, the reduction of the rear yard setback also places the structure and the foundations outside of the tree protection zones, and avoids having us remove the cluster of palms along West Loman Street. And that presents, that is our primary hardship on the site, and open up for any questions if you guys have any for us at this point.
All right, that completes your presentation this evening?
Yes.
All right, is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak about this petition tonight? Seeing none. Any questions by the board for the applicant or staff?
You stated that you were requesting from 20 feet to 6 feet. Is that correct?
That is correct. The original application was to 5 feet, and then during the review, it was noted that there is an old easement that is located in the rear. I think there was an existing alley at some point, but there's still a utility easement. We had the option of either getting the easement removed, because I don't think it was still active, or just moving the foundation or the accessory structure away far enough that we were no longer in the easement. So we decided to just move it a foot extra further from the rear to accommodate that easement.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Okay.
Question for staff? All the document that we have says 5 feet. Is that gonna be an issue?
No, because what they're requesting for 6 is greater than 5, so as long as it's not less than
Less.
notice.
Right, less than,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Technically, 6 is greater than 5, but in
Yes.
our parlance,
Right.
6 feet is less than 5. Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Seeing none. You have 5 minutes for rebuttal time. Do you need it?
I do not.
Do you want to share anything else with us?
No further comments.
All right. Then I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
Move that variance requests for case BRB 23-04 for property located at 7102 South Shamrock Road be granted as depicted on the site plan for a reduction of the rear yard setback from 10 feet to 6 feet and a reduction of the vehicle entrance setback from 10 feet to 7 feet with an encroachment for using gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that due to the location and setback area of some adjacent trees, the proposed location is one of the only locations that the proposed garage can be located in. The garage is consistent with other properties in the neighborhood and is on a corner lot, so we don't have the kind of concerns with adjacent neighbors that we do in some other kinds of properties.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Petition passes. Have a great evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
The last case before the board tonight is VRB 2209. This is addressed at 1014 West Beacon Avenue. The property owner is Carol Bennett and the applicant is Robin Bennett. This is zoned RS60 residential single family, and the variance request is to reduce the front yard setback from 60 feet to 24 feet for a detached carport. Code section in reference is section 27-291A. Accessory structure setbacks are set forth as 60 in the front, 3 feet on the rear, 3 feet on the sides, and 7 on the corner. This is an aerial showing the subject property. It is an interior lot in the Central Tampa Planning District. And the applicant provided this site plan showing the existing single-family residence and the detached carport that goes in the front of the existing home. The setback is currently at 24 feet, and that's what the request is for. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions that any City of Tampa code and City of Tampa tree and landscape code be met at the time of permitting. Transportation reviewed and found them consistent. Right-of-way reviewed and found them consistent. Zoning reviewed and found them consistent as well. We have received no letters of objection or support for this variance request. This was also was work that was done without permit, so this is an after-the-fact request from the applicant. In the determination of the variance request before you, the board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for the approval or denial of the variance request. Staff is available if you have any questions.
So, quick question for you, Ms. Madhu.
Yes.
There was an existing carport, and this was a replacement?
No, the carport is existing. I don't know when it was built, but it's existing,
Okay.
and he was cited, and he's coming here to get the variance.
Better question for the applicant than for you.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Come on up, Mr. Bennett. State your name, your address, confirm that you've been sworn.
Robin Bennett, 1014 West Beacon Avenue, and I have been sworn.
Terrific, great job. You have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
I did find this site map. I have a couple more copies. Do you want to see that?
Sure. We can see it on there.
This is the site map from original purchase back in the 70s, late 70s.
Okay.
And it does show the existing carport there. What happened was after 50 years, the carport began to deteriorate, so we tore it down and built a new one. I wasn't aware that I needed a permit to do that, so I'm trying to rectify that now. The carport, the new carport is in place and was completed over a year ago. I had no idea that there was a 60-foot setback because the garage had been there for 50 years. Our garage is, the new garage is slightly larger. It's 24 foot instead of 20. So the existing garage was 10 by 20. That's the one that's been there was there for 50 years. The new garage is 12 by 24. That's in exactly the same place. So it's 4 foot closer to the road.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
No.
All right. If that completes your presentation, I will ask for comments from anyone from the audience. Seeing none, is there anyone on the board who would like to ask questions for the applicant or staff? I think you might have covered it pretty well. You have 5 minutes for rebuttal, should you choose to use it. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
I move that variance request for case VRB 23-09 for property located at 1014 West Beacon Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction of the front yard setback from 60 feet to 24 feet with an encouragement for use in gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the carport, replace a carport that had been in this location for approximately 50 years. And I don't see any health, safety, or welfare concerns.
Okay, second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those, is there a need for discussion? No? All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Petition passes, your carport's good to go. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other business this evening, folks? Nope, seeing none, we are adjourned.